During an evacuation at SHIELD headquarters outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico, Nick Fury, portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson, the director of the organization, arrives to find that the Tesseract, an energy source with unknown potential, has been activated. This activation creates a portal through space, allowing the exiled Norse god Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, to step through with a strange spear featuring a blue glowing tip, taking control of the minds of several SHIELD personnel, including Dr. ERIK Selvig, Stellan Skarsgård, and Agent Clint Hawkeye Barton. Jeremy Renner, Loki seizes the Tesseract and uses his newfound allies to aid in his getaway. However, as the energy surge from the Tesseract causes the ground beneath the base to collapse and destroy it, SHIELD personnel are forced to pull out. Despite a short pursuit, Loki ultimately evades capture. Following the attack, Nick Fury declares a state of emergency and informs his top agents Phil Coulson, played by Clark Gregg, Natasha Romanoff, Scarlett Johansson, and Maria Hill, Kobe Smulders, that they are running out of options. Fury reassigns Romanoff and Coulson from their current tasks and tasks them with finding the heroes he needs to combat Loki. Coulson pulls Romanoff from her investigation in Eastern Europe and assigns her the mission of tracking down the big guy, Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo, also known as the Incredible Hulk. Banner has been residing in India, working for a Calcutta hospital to help the sick and find inner peace. Romanoff informs Banner about the Tesseract and its destructive potential. Being an expert in gamma rays, Banner is their best chance of locating the cube. During a video chat with the World Security Council, the superiors who run SHIELD, Fury is grilled about his plan to bring about the Avengers initiative. The WSC are furious, saying that it's the wrong thing to do and these people will never work together as a group. Fury says they have no other option and this is their only hope of defeating Loki. The superiors reluctantly agree. Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, on the other hand, is a relatively easy find for SHIELD, who has been monitoring him since he was discovered alive and thawed out from the ice. Fury meets Rogers at his gym and provides him with a briefing packet on the situation that awaits him back at his apartment. Meanwhile, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., is seen sporting a new Iron Man armor with underwater capabilities as he works on installing a new electrical connection for his office building, which will allow it to be completely self-sustaining. When Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow, arrives for date night, an argument ensues over who deserves credit for the Stark Tower idea. Coulson interrupts, handing Tony a laptop containing all the pertinent information about the ongoing events. As Pepper decides to go to Washington, D.C. to secure zoning permits for Stark Tower's next 2 buildings, Tony is left with a lot of work to do. While on the plane headed to a secure location, an aircraft carrier with the ability to transform into a flying vessel, Coulson engages in small talk with Rogers, expressing his admiration for the Captain America trading card collection he possesses. Upon arriving at the helicarrier, Rogers is introduced to Dr. Bruce Banner, and they both express uncertainty about what lies ahead. Rogers suggests that they might be traveling in a submarine, but Banner quickly dismisses the idea due to his aversion to confined, pressurized environments. As the carrier takes off, the group receives a briefing that Dr. Selvig and Loki have been located in Stuttgart, Germany. Rogers is assigned his first mission, to apprehend Loki at a formal black tie event in Stuttgart and bring him back to the helicarrier. At the event, Loki is in the process of abducting a doctor with knowledge about the Tesseract's potential power source, while Dr. Selvig and Hawkeye neutralize the guards. Meanwhile, Loki attempts to subjugate the attendees, ordering them to kneel before him and proclaiming that freedom is an illusion. One elderly man resists, prompting Loki to prepare to strike him down. However, Rogers arrives in the nick of time, blocking the lethal blow with his shield and confronting Loki head-on. As the two engage in combat, Tony arrives on the scene with his Iron Man suit fully armed to knock down the god and challenge him to retaliate. The rock song Shoot to Kill by AC/DC sets the scene for Tony's entrance. After the successful apprehension of Loki, the helicarrier transporting him encounters a lightning storm, prompting Rogers to ask if Loki is afraid of the lightning. However, Loki reveals that it's not the lightning that he fears, but what comes after it. Soon after, Thor, Loki's half-brother and the god of thunder, arrives to take him back to Asgard for punishment, but finds himself in a confrontation with Rogers and Tony. The altercation reaches a stalemate, and Loki is eventually taken to a specially designed glass cell, similar to the one used to hold the Hulk, aboard the helicarrier. Fury warns Loki that any attempt to escape, even a mere crack in the glass, will result in him plummeting to Earth and potentially being killed. At the high-tech prison on board the aircraft carrier, the Avengers team is briefed by Fury about the next possible steps. Agent Romanoff interrogates Loki while Tony Stark joins in to conduct experiments on Loki's scepter. Stark tries to provoke Banner into turning into the Incredible Hulk, but Banner shares his struggle with fully harnessing his abilities and the depression he suffered after the accident. He moved to Calcutta to find meaning in his life by helping people. Stark seems to be the only one he gets along with among the group. After assembling the team, the Avengers engage in heated discussions and debates on how to handle both Loki and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s plan to use the Tesseract to build weapons, which Rogers uncovered. Fury reveals that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s awareness of extraterrestrial races and the potential threats they pose to Earth was sparked by the events that took place in New Mexico a year earlier, as depicted in Thor. Meanwhile, Thor inquires about Jane Foster's whereabouts from Coulson, who informs him that she's been placed in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s witness protection program and is currently residing in a secure location in London. After deciding to use the Tesseract to create weapons as a deterrent, the Avengers find themselves under attack on the helicarrier by Clint Barton and Loki's mind-controlled agents. The attack disables one of the carrier's engines mid-flight. While Stark and Rogers work to restart the damaged engine, Romanoff tries to prevent Dr. Banner from transforming into the Hulk and destroying the ship. Despite her efforts, Banner turns into the Hulk and goes on a rampage, chasing Romanoff throughout the ship until Thor arrives and manages to subdue the beast with a powerful blow from his hammer, Mjolnir. During the chaos, Romanoff fights Barton and knocks him into a guardrail, breaking Loki's mind control. Meanwhile, Loki tricks Thor into his cell, recovers his scepter, and releases the cell, causing Thor to fall from the carrier. Loki is briefly held at bay by Agent Coulson, but he is ultimately stabbed in the back by the real Loki disguised as a holographic projection. Coulson manages to shoot Loki with an unknown weapon, which uses the power of the Destroyer, but he dies shortly after. Thor manages to escape from the cell just before it hits the ground, while Banner wakes up in his human form in an abandoned factory. Fury employs Coulson's apparent demise to rally the Avengers and stress the importance of teamwork. Stark and Rogers come to the realization that defeating Loki is not enough, as he must publicly overpower them to assert himself as ruler of Earth. With a device constructed by Dr. Selvig, Loki creates a portal to the Chitauri home world above Manhattan, inviting a Chitauri invasion. The group's individual differences resurface and hinder their ability to function cohesively, particularly with Banner's absence. During a heated exchange with Rogers, Tony deduces that Loki is an attention-seeking drama queen and has likely taken up residence at the summit of Stark Tower. Unfortunately, Natasha arrives too late to stop Dr. Selvig from opening the portal, unleashing Loki's massive army upon the Earth. The Avengers are unable to fight them off as they enter the atmosphere. Fortunately, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner arrive to assist. Rogers directs NYPD cops to guide citizens to safety in the underground tunnels and sewers. Meanwhile, the Hulk wreaks havoc, while Tony confronts Loki at Stark Tower. Tony offers Loki a drink, but also prepares an advanced version of Iron Man, the 18 Malawian Quatches, which is contained in a box specifically coded for Tony and has powerful weapons. Loki refuses to cooperate, claiming that only his rule can save humanity. He attempts to control Tony's mind with his scepter, but fails due to Tony's trusty arc reactor. Despite being overwhelmed by waves of Chitauri, the Avengers band together to defend New York. With the aid of a reformed Barton, Rogers and Thor evacuate civilians while Dr. Banner transforms into the Hulk and confronts Loki in Tony Stark's penthouse, ultimately beating him into submission. Meanwhile, Romanoff fights her way to the portal device located on the roof of Stark Building, with some help from the Chitauri, and knocks Dr. Selvig unconscious to free him from Loki's control. Dr. Selvig then reveals that Loki's staff can be used to close the portal. As Hulk pummels Loki, Romanoff makes her way to the rooftop to close the portal using the scepter. Meanwhile, Stark takes charge of securing the area. While Fury is on a conference call with the Council, he vehemently opposes their plan to launch a nuclear missile at Manhattan, and even destroys 2 jets that take off from the helicarrier in an attempt to prevent the launch. However, one jet manages to escape and fires the nuclear weapon. As the Chitauri invasion is defeated, Tony intercepts the nuclear missile aimed at Manhattan and flies it straight into the portal. While in the portal, Tony attempts to contact Pepper one last time, but the call fails. The missile destroys the Chitauri mothership, causing all the invading aliens to collapse and become useless. Unfortunately, Tony runs out of oxygen and falls towards certain doom. Just as it seems all is lost, he manages to escape the portal and returns to the atmosphere, but it appears he won't make it. Luckily, the Hulk saves him just in time. As Tony regains his senses, he suggests they all go out for shawarma, but the team decides to first apprehend Loki. After their victory in New York, the Avengers part ways. Romanoff, Rogers, and Hawkeye return to their work at S.H.I.E.L.D. Tony and Pepper are seen rebuilding Stark Tower and working on the next phase of their project. Thor takes Loki and the Tesseract back to Asgard, where Loki will face trial for war crimes from both Asgard and the Chitauri. As news reports recap the events, the Avengers are hailed as heroes by some, but others are fearful and demand accountability for the destruction caused. During a video conference call with the World Security Council, Fury is both congratulated and criticized. The Council argues that the Avengers are too powerful to be trusted and that S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot be held responsible for their actions. However, Fury sees the events in New York as a warning to all potential attackers that S.H.I.E.L.D. is ready to defend Earth. He assures the Council that the Avengers have earned a leave of absence and their whereabouts will no longer be tracked, but they will be called back if needed. Furthermore, Fury reveals that the Tesseract is hidden in a location where no one on Earth will ever be able to find it. In a scene during the credits, the leader of the Chitauri, the Other, advises his master that attacking Earth is pointless since the Avengers are too powerful to defeat. The camera then pans to reveal Thanos, a follower of the embodiment of death, who grins at the prospect of causing more destruction in the hopes of winning her favor. After further credits, the Avengers are shown eating together in a shawarma joint. The team looks worn out and no one speaks.